Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is ArcheTAP. And right now we're going through the archetypes that are associated with the major arcana of the Tarot. But I like at the top of this class to just kind of remind us what an archetype is. And I really like Richard Rudd's definition of it. So he is the creator of the Gene Keys. He defines archetype as a compressed idea containing many dimensions of meaning, imagery, and feeling. Archetypes resonate with deep universal themes in the unconscious of all human beings, regardless of their race, regardless of their genetics, or their conditioning. And when you continuously contemplate and identify with a particular archetype, it has the capacity to transform your state of consciousness from a low frequency to a higher frequency. So it is to the benefit of all when we meet each week and do this type of work. Anytime that we can raise the vibration, it's super helpful for ourselves and for others. So today we are on card 6, which is the Lovers. I'm going to grab my water and keep it a little bit closer by. Okay, so we've got 2 cards here. I'm going to show you both and I'm going to describe both. One is kind of the more traditional. This is the universal weight. And then this is the deck that I've just really fallen in love with. And so you can see in this image, there's 4 figures. In this image, there's 3. Let's go over this one just a little bit here. So there's a lot happening. You've got Adam and Eve. There's the tree of life in the background with the snake. You've got this mountain. It's so funny to me. And like every description that I've read of this card, they all kept calling it an erect mountain. I'm like, well, what mountain isn't erect? I don't know. Okay, fine. And you've got an angel and the sun up here in the background. And this tree behind Adam is in flames, which is most likely about passion, as well as the erect mountain is probably about passion. But ultimately with Adam and Eve, we're talking about duality. And I think that this card encompasses duality. It's the overarching theme, even though, of course, the title Lovers definitely leans towards relationships, and it is about relationships. We'll get into that a little bit deeper here in just a second. So if you are born in June, then the Lovers is your inner essence. This is like your inner child, and you keep this from birth to death. This archetype stays with you, and it's the archetype that you really want to get centered with because it's traveling with you through your entire life. When you're centered in this, then everything around you starts coming to you. You're in alignment with your perfect self, if that makes sense. And then if you're into numerology, if your life path number is 6, then the Lover is your immature ego. So up until about the age of 40-ish, like your midlife crisis part of yourself, you're like, how have I been living? This would be your kind of inner identity, your inner ego. You would resonate with this card. In its essence, this archetype, like I said, is about exploring duality and the responsibility of making choices. So it's represented by Gemini, and Gemini is the force that is one day going to create global unity. I love that statement. In Egyptian schools, this god was the god Anubis, who was the son of Isis, and is associated with the sun. This thought form, this archetype, represents life force of both masculine and feminine energies. And it creates this bond that like brings them together and creates oneness, which we'll talk about too. The Lovers is the archetype of the teenager. It's the teenager essence in general. Think about a teenager, especially a more masculine type would be like, they're falling in love with everything because they're getting to leave the realm of their parents a little bit here and begin to explore themselves of like what adulthood is going to look like. And so everything is so fucking exciting as a teenager, right? Because you're getting to explore it at, you know, this time. So love is new, life is new, and you're passionate about all of it. So in the Sphinx code card, in his right hand, he's holding his sacral. It's really hard to see. And then in his left hand, he's holding his heart. So his sacral is about his vitality, and then his heart is all about his passion. And he's got to find a way to let these two things guide him. And then he's standing on either side of the Empress and the High Priestess. So on the one hand, you've got the priest type archetype, right? That has like all the knowledge of the world. And then on the other hand, you have the shiny pretties of the world that are super distracting and can potentially let you make impulsive decisions, right? So he's all about discovering the world of duality. He wants everything. And he constantly has to make choices about what he wants. And that is like getting his heart all up in a twist. He wants to follow his heart, but then he's got this moral code that has been put on him by conditioning, by society, by genetics, whatever. And it creates an impossible choice inside of him. As a result, this is where mental stuckness happens. I said that really sloppily, but when you get stuck in your head, you can't make a decision about anything because you're constantly weighing every fucking option out the wazoo. Getting stuck in mental chaos like that is so stressful, and it exerts so much extra energy on our physical body. So there's a lesson to take away. It's like we want to invoke this type of archetype when we are really trying to make a choice about something, and we get it. We are lost. We'll even make comments about like, I am stuck in my head. I can't quit thinking about blah, 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 whatever it is. The key to cut through that kind of mental paralysis is to follow your passion. But if you're not used to doing that, I get that that can be really scary. It's super easy to say on this side. And then you're stuck in trying to make, you know, most decisions feel really important in our lives. So this is why in this card, both of them have an angel at the top. This one just is specifically Cupid, and he is shooting an arrow towards his heart. It's like, follow your heart. Yeah, he loves all the material objects of the world. Anything that is shiny and pretty, he is like, ooh, distracted. Ooh, distracted. Oh. I related to that part a lot. And this archetype is all about choice, and they always feel like impossible choices. So due to this, in its kind of shadowier aspects, the Lovers is full of self-doubt, can be profoundly pessimistic. Depression can come from this. And then a lot of addictions land in this realm also, because when you can't make a choice about something, when you're feeling depressed and pessimistic, hopeless, you just submit to the temptations that are around you oftentimes. And that can look like anything. It could look like, for me, oftentimes lately, it's overeating. Just to soothe myself. I've definitely dealt with like, I mean, it can look worse, like drugs and alcohol, shopping. I mean, whatever the things are, the normal things that kind of get us in a groove of addictive type behavior where you know you've reached your point. You've reached your limit, but you're still doing it anyway, you know. You're not following your heart at that point, you're for sure. And then the Lovers is a really sensual archetype too. It's super creative. There's a lot of healing potential within this card. And he heals through love. And specifically, he really likes touch. So when the Lovers follows his heart, it could get messy. And he's trying to tell you that's okay. Messy is fine. Messy is life. He really wants to be morally pure, which is where the conundrum comes from, and the inner war and not being able to answer his questions. So it's a mental construct. He's got to kind of constantly remind himself of that we are our authority. I know we talk about that a lot in this class, that idea comes up a lot of, I am my own authority. You are your own authority. You've got to learn to listen to yourself. But we were just not taught how to do that. So it's really confusing at first. And then for me, I don't know about for you guys, but oftentimes I listen and I don't like the answer, or the answer is really scary. So like, you got to retire from your entire career or whatever, and you're like, shit, that's big. And maybe you aren't quite ready for that, and so it takes what it takes. And sometimes it takes time, but like all forms of duality, like you don't want to make it temptation. What? I just tried to invent a word. Temptatious. You don't want to make a decision based on temptation. And you also don't want to get stuck in the land of not being able to make a decision. So there's like a balance there that can be found. Okay. Let's do a little tapping. Oh, no, just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place today. Good grief. I do want to talk about relationships in regards to this archetype. So some thoughts on relationships. Ultimately, there is only one relationship. And it is the relationship with our soul, with the God part of us, the part of us that has broken off and doesn't understand that it's still connected, that feels wildly disconnected from things, from itself sometimes, but ultimately it's the only one that there is. And so we can't work on any other relationship outside of ourselves without working on our personal relationship with our inner capital I self, capital S, so this is about the relationship with your master inside of you. And if we could quit looking for it out there, most likely everything out there would show up quite quick. The statement of love your neighbor as yourself. Your neighbor equals another person. And since every other person represents the same spirit, it's all you. It's always all you. And this is where projection can get really sticky, because when we are resistant to an idea of something in ourselves and that energy doesn't have anywhere to go, it gets stuck. And energy always wants to be in motion, right? And so that's where projection happens the most, is because that energy doesn't know where to go. We aren't allowing it to release because we aren't owning all the parts of ourselves. And then it goes into the projection land, which I think is an interesting way to think about it. So since every other person is us, we have to recognize that every other person is wearing a mask, and that underneath that mask is their inner essence, just like we all have our own inner essence. And we have to love ourselves with absolutely everything we've got, like all the adoration, all the treasuring ourselves and cherishing ourselves. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, of not talking to myself pedantically, but like talking to myself like I'm 3, talking to other people like they're 3, not like I'm talking to a child. I talk to most children like they're adults. but with that kind of sacredness, you know, that you would never just like shit all over a child for doing something wrong, or we hope not, and that you would just encourage and love and try to fill in those gaps and explore and explain and you know, have great patience with those versions of ourselves. So I like to think about it like that lately, if that's helpful at all. And now we will do some tapping. So grab some water if you have some nearby. Sit up straight in your seat if you started to slouch like I inevitably always do. Take a big, deep letting go breath. And get started tapping on the side of your hand. Repeat after me. I often don't trust myself. So I'm stuck in my head constantly. Weighing options. Thinking, thinking, thinking. I've got some doubts. Maybe even some pessimism. And sometimes I even feel hopeless. Like, am I ever going to figure this out? Because I really want to listen to my inner voice. My heart and my soul. I don't always understand what they're trying to tell me. And sometimes I don't like the answer. So I pretend I didn't hear it. I feel stuck with a mountain of responsibility. And I'm feeling insecure. So even though I overthink things, I have a hard time making decisions, I am choosing to flip a proverbial coin, follow life's decisions, and deeply love myself. Okay. So we've loaded a little bit of information of what we're talking about into our circuitry here. So grab another sip of water and then meet me on the top of the head. I've got an energetic block. I am stuck in my mind. I don't trust my inner voice. But I know and I choose to figure out how to. The Lovers is asking me to have prudence. In all situations. At the same time, I can just, what? at the same time, I get stuck in my head. I can also be impulsive. Tempted by all the shiny, pretty things in this world. So I am choosing to allow balanced time. To learn how to feel each choice inside my body. And then make the choice that feels the most courageous. To follow my heart. I am healing a part of me. And entering a creative space. A creative space in my life. I am learning to find my creativity. And shine my talent into the world. I am dedicated. And I'm sincere. I'm learning how to follow my inspiration towards whatever opens my heart up. Little by little, I am trusting myself more each day. Recognizing the relationship with myself is the most important relationship I could ever work on. And that when I work on it, shockingly, all the other relationships in my life get better too. I am gaining awareness. I am becoming a force of love. And I am letting this love infiltrate everything. Whether you're my neighbor or my lover, I'm letting this archetype keep me centered. I'm calling on the lovers when I need assistance in my relationships. So that I can approach conflict with creativity. And I have great courage. And so it is. All right, my friends, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths. Notice any sensations in your body. Trying not to judge them, just noticing them. And go ahead and just keep your eyes closed if it's comfortable for you. Adjust your spine if you need to. If you started to slouch, sit up straight again. Kind of make sure that your head is on your neck, your head's over your hips. Your shoulders are relaxed and in their sockets. Do a quick body scan, just looking for any places that might be holding tension. And with every exhale, you let the tension go. Imagine that you are at the edge of a forest. The sun is out. You can feel the warmth of it on your face. You start to take in the sights and sounds of nature around you. With each breath you take, visualize a soft golden light surrounding you. This golden light will stay with you through the entire meditation, offering you protection and guidance. In your mind's eye, see a path begin to emerge in this forest. This path leads you to your favorite place, a sanctuary created uniquely for you. As you step onto the path, notice the sensations under your feet. Is it soft grass? Is it pebbly? Is it sandy? Follow the path, feeling a sense of tranquility wash over you. Every step, you are more relaxed. You reach a beautiful clearing bathed in gentle light. This is your safe place, so take a moment to explore it. What do you see? What colors are predominant? Are there any comforting scents or sounds? Find a comfortable seat. Maybe there's a chair in your sanctuary. Maybe you plop down on the floor. As you settle in, you notice two figures approaching you. These two figures are the lover's archetype embodied. Let them look like whatever you want them to look like. But they radiate a sense of harmony and balance. So invite them in to join you. Feel their presence is really calming, the energy that they bring. Start to have a conversation with the lovers, asking them, am I being true to myself and my principles in my relationships with others? Am I being true to myself and my principles in my relationships with others? Are there any relationships specifically that might need a little more work? Imagine yourself writing these answers down, and you'll stick them in your left front pocket. Next, ask them, how can I balance the duality inside me? How can I balance the opposing forces inside of me, the logic and the emotion, the passion and the reason? How can I balance opposing forces within me? Have the conversation that you need to have. Write your answers down and stick them in your left front pocket. And last question, how can I cultivate a deeper sense of self-love and acceptance within me? How can I cultivate a deeper sense of self-love and acceptance within me? If there's only one relationship, how do I improve the relationship with myself? I want you to engage in this conversation for as long as feels correct. Write everything down, stick it in your left front pocket. When you're ready to conclude, express gratitude to the lovers for coming to you, giving their guidance, their presence. Know that you can return to this safe place anytime and connect with them. I will see you next week. Enjoy your meditation.